As promised, we're taking a look at the Cowboys linebacker room. We'll go briefly in depth on why it's been such a disaster, because we all have eyes. We know the linebacker room is not playing well at all. And more importantly, look at some of the potential options, replacements, targets, free agency, internal guys, practice squad, and more on today's show. Before we get into that, this is your chance to complain about the Cowboys linebacking core. Grade the linebacker room this year. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. The Cowboys did change things from last year with regards to the linebacker core. They went out and traded for Kenneth Murray. They brought in Jack Sanborn, a Matt Eberflus guy in Chicago. They retained Marist Liufau. They kept Damone Clark. They drafted Shemar James. They've all been kind of bad. Kenneth Murray has been the exact same guy he has been the entirety of his NFL career. He's athletic. He can actually blitz. The Cowboys don't blitz, so we don't see it. Doesn't have great instincts, hasn't had great success in coverage, and just isn't always in the spot he needs to be despite being very gifted athletically. I would love to find a way to put Jack Sanborn's brain in Kenneth Murray's body, because I think that would actually be a playable linebacker right now. Sanborn, I was serviceable in a spot starting duty in Chicago. Maybe that was because the other linebackers around him were better than Kenneth Murray, because he has not been very good. It seems like he's just a half second behind to react, and because he doesn't have the athletic ability, it's showing up. You can't ask him to cover that cover two hole shot. He's not athletic enough to do it. And he's missing tackles now too. He's been a liability. I think Kenneth Murray, frankly, has been a liability. The Cowboys said they wanted to give Marist Liufau more chances to play. They finally did so in Week 4. How does he repay them? A critical blown missed tackle, followed up immediately by a 15-yard penalty for an obvious late hit. What are you doing? He was better last year. This year, he has not been very good. Shemar James has gotten a chance to play briefly now after being a scratch the first couple of weeks. He's kind of what I think most of us expected. He's young. He's athletic. There's some upside, but he's not there yet. He kind of replaced Damone Clark as like the third down linebacker because he's athletic, but I don't really want to rely on him yet. I think he's still in the development phase of his career. Damone Clark is also who he's been for most of his career. He's athletic, but the instincts aren't there. Seems like this is now 3 straight defensive staffs that have learned, hey, he's athletic, but when the bullets start flying, he just doesn't quite have the necessary instincts, maybe that changes at some point, to make the impact plays. There's a reason why Clark has tackles, but the TFLs are normally not really there. Coming up next, we'll break down some of the viable internal options for the Cowboys to take a look at the linebacker spot. There are some things the Cowboys can continue to try, but I kind of think an external option is needed. So do the Cowboys need another linebacker? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. First up is Justin Barron, who has been a practice squatter for the Cowboys. I think he's going to make his career in the NFL as a special teamer. You're at the point where try it, why not? Might actually be a valid option, but I don't love it necessarily. You could try playing some safeties at linebacker. Marquise Bell did that well. He's not a great run support player because he is so undersized, but he can hang in coverage. Maybe you try that one. Hell, maybe you give Donovan Wilson more in-the-box reps at linebacker, probably once Malik Hooker is healthy. Those are outside-the-box options you can at least throw out there for the Cowboys. The other option is just waiting for DeMarvion Overshown to get healthy. He is working his way back from yet another knee injury. Kind of the original over-under target timeline had kind of been Thanksgiving. It does sound like before is possible. How early? I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked if the Cowboys used up the full 3-week practice window for Overshown. The 2024 stats, he was really good out there. We'll do D Overshown because his name's too long. 90 tackles, 8 TFLs. He can blitz for you. Shoot, there might be moments you want to put him on the edge and let him go chase the quarterback. If you're going to do these hook zone stuff, he will tackle Jalen Hurts. But I want DeMarvion Overshown back. I think he was by far your best linebacker. But I can't put all of my hopes into a third-year linebacker coming off of 2 bad knee injuries. I can't bank on that. I think that's too risky. Now, my initial thought was you were going to be able to get by with Murray and Sanborn and Liufau. kind of feels like that's not the case right now. So next up, some free agent options for the Dallas Cowboys. We will talk trade options as well on today's show. Before we get into that, today's show is made possible by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this football season on PrizePicks, where it is good to be right. They are the only app that offers stacks, so you can pick the same player up to 3 times. So, Josh Allen passing yards, rush yards, and touchdowns. They also have the new feed tab, which means you can follow other PrizePicks players directly on the app, copy their lineups in one click. Friend, celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like. PrizePicks has that option available. This is my Thursday night PrizePicks lineup. More than a half touchdown for Davante Adams, who's been a red zone menace. Matthew Stafford, more than passing yards. I suspect that I was going to try to run the football a lot with Christian McCaffrey. It might be a run-heavy workload for McCaffrey. So go download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. So the first free agent option I am going to spend some more time on is Eric Kendricks. He spent last year, of course, with the Dallas Cowboys. I do think decline is where things are going with him, but it wasn't as bad as what we are seeing right now from this linebacking core. He recently visited the Baltimore Ravens, but for now at least, passed on a practice squad offer with the club. He's kind of in the journeyman phase of his career. Kendricks does not have the same athletic ability, but I feel like he was in the right spot, which right now seems to be a bit of an issue for this Cowboys linebacking core with what they're being asked to do. That is a strong name I would consider. All right, other free agent linebackers, like some more notable names that maybe you've heard of. Josey Jewell is first up here, and he's kind of also in that journeyman phase of his career. Spent a lot of time in Denver, most recently with the Carolina Panthers. I was a little bit surprised that he's unsigned. I missed time with injuries. I do worry a little bit that you just kind of get slightly better Jack Sanborn out of Josey Jewell, and that does kind of raise some red flags. But I do think, as you'll see, this is one of the best free agent linebackers available. That's the problem with trying to find help in October. Isaiah Simmons is next up here. Look, hand up accountability. I missed, man. Like, I thought he was going to be so good in the NFL. I was wrong. And I think we're at the point where trying to make it work with Isaiah Simmons is kind of like the girl dating the bad boy of, I can fix him. No, you can't. That race has been run. David Long Jr. is next up here, one of 2 different David Longs in the NFL. At times has been a really good player. Like, he's undersized, but he's always been impactful in the run game. It wasn't working, though, in 2024. And I start to wonder, it's just only a proper schematic fit, and right now I don't trust the schematics in Dallas. Now, Devondre Campbell is probably one of the more notable names, but when you straight up quit on your team like he did in San Francisco, I think he's essentially been blackballed by the NFL. Although, is it even blackballing? Like, if they're right to do it? That one's a no for me. Trade targets to come here on today's show. But first, name a linebacker who you want the Dallas Cowboys to add. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. We are talking trades, and I want to emphasize I'm only looking at names that I consider remotely reasonable. You can start waving around the first-round pick and maybe get wild with it, but that's not that good of an idea, frankly. Also, you're not going to get the best linebackers in football. Got to keep it somewhat practical here. So first up is Logan Wilson of the Cincinnati Bengals, a player who had started to see his snap count decline a little bit, although there had been some injuries for the Bengals as well right now at linebacker, which are worth mentioning. But Wilson isn't that expensive. It's a little over $5 million. You'd owe the prorated figure, so it kind of drops there. Bengals could be sellers. He is, I think, starting to show a little bit of signs of not being as impactful as he was at his best, but I haven't seen his name mentioned. It's a decent one to consider. Jordyn Brooks of the Dolphins is next up here. Money's a factor. He's owed $9 million thereabouts, prorated figure, so we'll call it 6 or 7. Texas guy. I think does do some good stuff at linebacker. Probably one of the better names on this list. If Miami wants to go full on fire sale, that's a name you can certainly call about. I do wonder how the money impacts things, though. Demario Davis is the notable name here. And again, I'm down to trade day 3 picks if I can make it work. I don't have a third. I don't want to trade my 2 or a 1 for a linebacker that's a rental. And Davis is a rental. That's what he is at this point in his career. He's 36 years old, but he's still playing at actually a pretty high level. Much like the Cam Jordyn conversation, it's kind of like for the Saints, you ask Demario Davis what he wants to do. If he wants to stay in New Orleans forever, cool. If he wants to go play for a contender, awesome. But also, are you a contender? That might not be how other players view the Dallas Cowboys. We're focusing on bad teams because, those are the sellers, right? Cody Barton, the Titans. Okay, maybe. I don't know how good he actually is. Right now, if the option is he better than Sanborn? It's probably a yes. Just over $2 million for Barton, by the way. Forgot to mention, Demario Davis is super cheap. He is the vet minimum, which, if he wants to come to Dallas, makes him a viable option. I'd probably rank them in, Barton behind the other 3 guys. If and when the Cowboys get help at the linebacker room, we will have you covered. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV. This next batch of names are guys that I really do think are available, but they might not be good. Jerome Baker, who has kind of bounced around teams of late, Titans, Dolphins, Seattle, now with Cleveland, stuck behind their depth chart in the linebacker room. Again, not great options, but these are guys I think actually are available. Christian Harris played a lot previously for Houston, but has very much fallen out of favor with that organization. 3 tackles, 25 in just the 2025 campaign, but relatively early draft pick. How much the Cowboys like those guys, right? Tommy Eichenberg, Raiders, is kind of stuck behind new regime, buried on the depth chart as well. But he was also a late day 3 pick, and I had athletic concerns, although he did test pretty well, relatively speaking. Again, the options aren't great. If you want someone to be athletic and help out in coverage, how about Marte Mapu, the Patriots kind of linebacker safety hybrid? He's kind of stuck in New England. Kyle Duggar could also be kind of a linebacker safety hybrid for you. I'm trying to think outside the box here to an extent. Guys that haven't been impactful, haven't had the most success. But again, the options when you get to October are extremely limited. If you want to actually get better, you need to do it in March, in April. 4 names I'll wrap up here. Practice squad options you could go pursue. Anthony Walker, currently on the Colts. They just poached your guy, Buddy Johnson. Sione Takitaki on the Vikings. Darius Harris, who spent time with the team as more of a special teamer. Patriots. One name I actually would like, Kaiser White. I don't know why he thought of favor so much this year. I thought the Cardinals were just going to keep him. He's on the Titans practice squad. I know he's kind of getting ramped up there. I think he's a good athletic safety or linebacker, kind of like a safety hybrid. Even played that at times at West Virginia in college. But if I want some more athletic ability, White does stand out to me.